Hey there, I got another video for you guys today with David Williams of Sunset Market Gardens in Reidsville, North Carolina. And if you didn't see the first video I did with him, I'll put a link up here, but it was a full tour and overall view of his operations there, and it was just incredible. I filmed a lot of stuff with David because he's got a lot going on there, but I wanted to break it up into two videos, and this one is really about David's story and also the reason why their farm only really farms in the off season. They kind of take it easy in the summer, and I think it's a really cool strategy for a lot of people to start thinking about, especially in the south here, as the summers just are pretty brutal. And so there's a lot of cool stuff in this one, and David's just an amazing farmer and just a great person, so hope you enjoy. Hey David, so thanks for having me out here. I just want you to talk a little bit about your farm and sort of your background here.
So we're here at Sunset Market Gardens. We're a certified organic farm. This is our third year of growing. We're getting ready to start our fourth season next year. We're very small. We're a third of an acre. We utilize greenhouses, hoop homes to grow off season. Our season is from late September until the end of July. We have found that to grow off season is one, better for me and my body, and not dealing with the summer heats here in North Carolina, but also gives us a leg up on competition at local farmers markets that we sell at. A lot of the outdoor farmers are done Thanksgiving, and we can show up in the winter and take advantage of low competition, high demand for vegetables fresh in the wintertime. But we accomplished that with infrastructure, and over the last 3 years we've really focused on building infrastructure to grow for the winter season. And we love it, we enjoy it. But yeah, it's been a lot of work to establish everything, but as you can see, the plants love being indoors in the wintertime. We don't particularly enjoy row cover, trying to cover. We have a lot of wind here on our farm, which the first season we found that wasn't going to be sustainable for me, trying to farm in the winter with row covers. So we really upped the game in our infrastructure, and it's really paying off.
So the sort of off-season growing is a result of wanting to be competitive at markets, because I think a lot of people, it is very competitive at farmers markets. And how far are we from Greensboro right now?
We're probably 20 minutes from Greensboro.
Okay, and that's where your main farmers market is?
Yes.
Okay.
We sell there, and you know, this idea was given to us by a farm consultant that we hired. He gave us the book of Winter Harvest from Elliott Coleman, and it attracted me. I'm not a fan of summertime. I've worked outside my whole life, but the summertime is just brutal here, and to do anything to avoid that was great. And I love the idea of farming through the winter. The vegetable varieties are so much greater. The opportunity is much wider in the winter time. In the summer, with our summer heat, humidity, and pestilence that follows that, there's just only a handful of veggies that you can grow, and at the summer market it just becomes so saturated, highly competitive with peppers and eggplant, tomatoes. And we're not a huge farm, and I'm not a tomato farmer, and I think a lot of those, they deal with volume in the summertime, and when the prices plummet, we just want to leave. We want to have tomatoes early May and May. We want to have squash and zucchini in April, when there's no competition to sell those items, and when everyone else is bringing them, we just kind of bide our time and hang on until the end of July, and then just pack it up and quit, and let them have it and fight over it for August and September, and then show back up in late September with fall crops. And and move on.
So you guys want to be first to market with a lot of crops because you're already get a much earlier start.
That's right.
But you find that the prices tend to drop when everyone has the same crop.
Yeah, because it's competitive. It's so competitive when everyone's selling a cherry tomato or a tomato. How do I make that sell versus my competitor? And a lot of times it comes down to price. I mean, if one farmer shows up undercutting everybody by $1.50 a pound on a tomato, then what do? You're left to say, okay, well, you almost have to compete. And we try to keep our prices firm, but we are able to garner more money in May for a tomato, and no one else has them really at the market, versus in July, when even in our area, the backyard farmer or person who lives with a backyard has a tomato or wants to try to grow a tomato. So you have a lot more competition, not only from farmers, but just from people having this desire to want to grow something even in their backyard. We live in a rural community, and we have a farm store here, and we noticed that personally, that we had tons of people buying summer vegetables in April, May, and June, but June we started to fall off even here, because it's just so saturated in the summer with vegetables. And we don't do a CSA, so the farmers market is our main gig of selling vegetables, and we have to do what's best for us to be competitive in that market. And since we can't do volume in the summer, we can do high quality in the winter, and that's what we choose to do.
Okay, and probably less pest pressure as well?
Oh yeah, weeds is much better, pest is much better. The only problem that we have is in our area we find ourselves planting fall crops in August.
That's hard.
Which is difficult because you're still dealing with the heat and the pestilence. In order to have, just like we had this week, we had 18 degrees this past week, and it's middle of November. That's not supposed to happen. But if we'd have planted our fall crops later outdoors, like broccoli per se, and it wasn't ready, it'd have been hit or whatever. So we do find ourselves planting in August, but we only have a short window, and then September comes and things really subside. So yeah, so we love the off season for those two factors. It's easier on the body, it's easier on the plants. There's a wider variety of plants that you're capable of growing, which me as a person who farms, I love the opportunity to have a wide variety of vegetables that we can grow. I don't know how energized I would be on a monocrop, or and that's some of the problem I have with summer, is there's only a handful of varieties of things that you can grow. So yeah, we love the winter, giving us a lot of different options, and like I say, it's much easier on the body and the plants.
Absolutely. I think a lot of us growing in the South feel that way, and we're trying to figure out that rhythm. Has this been the strategy from day one here?
Yes, from day one. So we, like I say, we got in with a farm consultant, and his name was Tony Cleese, and he gave us his thought process from 30 years of being in the certified organic farming world. That he was like, the competition is so steep, and this is the way to go. He thought this was the way of the future, and with the heat of the summer and the high competition of markets, it is definitely, I feel, a way to differentiate yourself from other farms. But it's all based on infrastructure. So, but yeah, from day one, this was it. We planned our farm with high tunnels. We plotted everything. We did drainage, ditching, driveways, with the thought process of all high tunnels. And yeah, so from day one, that was the plan.
All right, and so you didn't mention this before, but your background is in horticulture and landscaping.
Yes.
So every farmer brings something different in terms of their background, but we're going to show in another video a tour of this place, and it's just incredible. So how did that factor into how this started too?
So I believe you see a little bit of every farm in the farmer. I think the farmer's personality, and it shows through in their farm. And for me, I'm a perfectionist in my trade, and my trade was horticulture. We do personal gardening. I maintain really nice high-end estates that have formal English style gardens. So for me, that attention to detail is utmost important, because that's how I differentiated myself in my horticulture business is to go the extra mile to have a product that is higher end and different than what the norm is doing, and that was harder work, more detail attention, and that's paid off here. So we want a farm that's as beautiful as it is productive. We want to have a place that attracts people to come to the farm. We want them to be able to come and freely walk around and see where their food is grown. We love, Elliot Coleman's book, The Winter Harvest. The pictures in there were just amazing, and that was the moment that it hit me. Like, that's what I want. I want that garden feel, hence the name of our farm. But I want people to walk in and see and be like, that looks as beautiful as if it were flowers, and vegetables, I feel, can be that. So that's really how we've set up our farm. We want the farm and our landscape and everything to be as beautiful as it is productive.
So a couple of key points here are growing in the cooler months more than in the summer. A lot of covered protection here.
Yes.
What happens in the summertime? Or do the beds just go fallow, or do you cover crop or cover them with anything?
So what we've done this past summer is we're trying to figure out crops. What can we grow to take the place of crops so that things don't sit open? We thought about cover cropping. We haven't really figured out a good way with our no-till to incorporate the cover crops in the summertime. So we found is we grow winter squash. So we had a winter squash crop this past year that we used on a plot that we planted 1st of June, 2nd week of June, I think it was, and it grew through the summer months. We did have a little bit of pest pressure on it, but nothing horrible, and we had a bumper squash crop, the butternuts, that fits our model of being able to sell those through the fall and winter months. And it was a great crop that we harvested our spring crops, and we re-prepped and then planted, and we're looking at more things like that we could plant that would be value for us, storage crops for the winter months. And we want to do more cover cropping. We utilized cover crops the first year, so 2016 we didn't farm, but the whole farm was covered in cover crops for a whole season, a whole year. And I think that really improved our soil. It gave a really good jump start. So we'd like to incorporate that back into our systems. But normally in the summertime, our tunnels are full of heat-loving crops up until the point that we start cropping out in late July. And then we use shade cloths. We have ventilation, passive, in the greenhouses with exhaust fans. But we have found with 40% shade, exhaust, that we can grow in the high tunnels even with the curtains down and still be very successful up until the point where you just don't want to be in there. And for us, that's that end of July date. So yeah, we're trying to utilize the spaces in the summer and find crops that fit our model for the fall and winter.
Can you talk a little bit about the reason you wanted to get into farming in the first place?
Farming was brought to my heart from our change of our diet. I think it was around 2010. Woke up one day and just kind of noticed that my own personal health was not great. My two sons at the time were 4 and 2 and 5 and 3, I think, and riddled with allergies and asthma, and taking breathing treatments twice a day. And this epiphany hit me one day that our diet was killing us, and my family was riddled with poor health. And me as the leader of my home, we brought a change to our home. We became vegans and cut out meat and dairy, and wasn't so much about the meat as where it came from, and we just couldn't trust the grocery stores. It really put us on a search of where our food came from, and we started a backyard garden. We, of course, my style, it had to be very beautiful. We built really nice raised beds out of wood, and had nice mulch around it so it was friendly for my wife and kids, and got them involved. And we started growing our own food, and I loved it, enjoyed it, and then visited a farm in Saxfahal and left that day. We just had the bug, and came home and discussed it with my wife, and next thing we know, we're searching for property, which was a 3-year venture. But yeah, we took the backyard garden and said, okay, let's do that for a living. We love farming. We love the fact that the crops that we grow, if we sell it to people, I am very confident that them eating our crops are definitely benefiting their health and well-being. And for us, it's kind of our service to the community. But yeah, so diet and well-being is what brought us to farming. And for me personally now, it's the challenge of it. I love a challenge, and to me, I've never done anything more challenging than growing certified organic, high-quality vegetables. It's the biggest challenge to date. So yeah, that's
Even tougher than having 4 kids, huh?
yes. Aside from family and just growing high-quality vegetables is an extreme challenge, especially here in the Southeast.
Agreed completely.
Yeah.
Well, I really like your approach, and I think it's a good story to share with others, because I think people are sort of looking for that. There's no one answer that fits all, but I think, you know, hearing other successful stories can be really helpful for farmers either getting started or people that are sort of digging their heels in the ground trying to figure out what to do.
Great. So maybe more people will start looking into off-season.
Well, they could be competing with you though, man.
That's all good. I think we need more of that. Because you know, with our heat and the climate, you're just not sure what the future will bring, and we're protected from rain, snow, which you just never can tell. And as a farmer, I mean, your investment's in your crops, and the more we can have a protection to cover that, I believe, is the best.
And you mentioned this sort of service to the community, and I think more winter growing is also great, because that's less produce that has to get shipped from elsewhere.
Exactly. So to have fresh vegetables in the winter months, we have found that people are ecstatic. They love it, to have that option. Because yes, most of all of our produce in North Carolina comes from California. And you think about how old it is and how long that travel is. It's amazing. People buy our lettuce and they're like, you know, a week later they come in the market, oh, I still have some of your lettuce. I hate that they do. I wish they would eat it. But how fresh and clean and well it keeps. And that's all due to just, you know, we harvest on Friday and sell it on Saturday. It just doesn't get any fresher and better than that. And we can see it. The customers love it. I do believe it is the way of the future for a farmer. The protection is, I believe, going to be a must.
I agree completely, and I think the benefit gets overlooked a lot, which is having the food be local.
Yes.
You know, just it doesn't have to travel. It's better for the environment.
It is.
And the food's healthier and fresher for everybody.
And plus, too, I think the more connected people can become with their local farmer and where their food comes from, it's just going to benefit the whole community. I believe that's key. So many people have no clue where their food was raised, how it was raised. But I think the more we can make people aware of that, and once they try it, they're hooked. You know, you can taste and see the difference. And that's really what we want. We want a farm that's open and transparent so people can come and visit. And it really forces us and helps us to stay on top of our game, to keep everything looking tidy and neat. And I just believe it's a benefit. It's a win-win for both.
Yeah, I think that really shows a lot. And you said, you know, you always see the farmer in the farm, and
yes.
This place is very tidy, very professional.
Thank you.
I would love to buy produce from you if I lived
Thank
closer.
you.
So, well, how can we're going to do a longer video, as I said, with a tour of the place. But how can people check out what you're doing?
Yeah, so we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. SunsetMarketGardens.com is our website. We sell at the Greensboro Curb Market. We also have a store here on our farm, and we are in Reidsville, North Carolina. So you can find us on Instagram, Facebook at Sunset Market Gardens, and SunsetMarketGardens.com is our website.
Cool. I'll leave a link down for all that stuff. So thanks, David.
Thank you.